Integrative Life Community Building, Class 6, Multi-Level Awareness. Hello, I'm Jim Morningstar, Director of the School of Integrative Psychology and facilitator of the Integrative Life Community Building course. In this class, we will gain clarity and certitude in discriminating what is real in our own mind field, what is useful in our community building, and how to inspire this discrimination in others. Memory and certitude exercises. Now, there are some exercises for us to do before we get into doing the multi-level awareness, which in a sense will take us in the opposite direction. I'm talking about expanding our consciousness. Well, to create the foundation for this work, we're going to get some seemingly trivial and mundane work done first. We're going to go into examining how we remember, how our memory works. Hopefully, we're going to improve our ability to remember everyday life in this lifetime. We're going to work with some exercises that I believe are equally as fascinating, but of a whole different genre. I believe these exercises help to develop the kind of expertise that great writers have, an ability to be fully in their expression and to bring all of their senses to bear. We're going to look at how we remember and help us develop detail in our memory and certitude in our memory, and also to be fully in our experience rather than just keep it as a mental picture. To be fully in our experience and our expression, let's start some work on our own personal memory, how we remember. The first exercise is for developing detail in your memory. And we're going to start out with a very recent memory, like this morning, something that happened to you this morning that you're going to remember and write down from a scene in your life this morning. Now, when I say a scene, this is important. We're not going to give a narrative, a whole series of events. What we're going to do is we're going to look back and pick just one scene. We're going to describe everything about that scene that we can remember. So it's a snapshot. We're going to take a photo of some scene in our life this morning, and we're going to write down all of the details of that picture. For example, I'm sitting at my breakfast table. My granddaughter is there. I brought back a little piece of coral from my vacation. And if you turn it upside down, it looks a little bit like a dinosaur. And it's white. It's a piece of white coral about 3 inches tall and has 4 protrusions that look like legs, although they're a little lumpy, and something that comes up that looks like a head. It's milky white, and there's a scale around the top part that looks like the head. And the head looks like it's flattened off a bit because that's where it was broken off from a larger piece of coral. And it's sitting right next to her plate, which is a white plate about 8 inches in diameter, and it's got a bagel on it. The bagel is half eaten. It's not highly toasted. It's got butter. Well, so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just describing this one scene here. What I'm looking at. What I'm seeing, what I'm smelling, tasting, hearing. I'm not someone that's basically visual. I process a lot through my auditory and kinesthetic. But we're going to help develop the visual and all the senses. I sometimes have to start out with more auditory and kinesthetic, and then the visual will come. I think we all have the ability to do that, even if it's not highly developed. So don't just describe the sounds or the feel or the taste or just the sight of it. Write all you can sense in that scene. My granddaughter is calling it a Corallosaurus, and I like the way she puts the words together. And I'm smelling the bagel with the butter on it, and there's some crumbs on the plate. And my bowl of granola is sitting right next to it, and I can hear the milk as it pours on the granola. So include a whole variety of senses. Now, you can also go back and say, I'm feeling proud at the time that this little thing that I brought back that we're enjoying connecting with and playing with together. And I like her creativity, calling it a Corallosaurus, and having fun reconnecting with her, whom I haven't seen in some time. So my thoughts and my feelings are also part of that picture. You're going to pick some picture from this morning, and you're going to describe it in detail on Handout 1, Memory Detail Exercises, Section 1. Write a detailed paragraph on a single picture from your life that you remember from this morning. Keep describing it for at least 3 minutes. More and more detail will come. You won't recognize how much you took in that scene until you get your motor going and you start writing about it. All of a sudden, a whole slew of detail can come to you if you just stay right with it. Describe that scene in full detail, as well as what you were thinking and feeling in that scene. If you run out of things to write, just stay with it. Keep right in that scene. Keep breathing and see what else comes up. Other layers tend to come up. So complete this and come back to the video. Were you able to get more detail as you stayed with the process? You do not have to limit yourself to 3 minutes in these exercises if you want to go further. It can become fascinating how much detail is inside of you than your first impressions may recount. In exercise 2, we're going to go back to remember something a little further back in your memory bank. You will select a less recent event, something that happened in the last 3 months, at least over a week ago, but in the last 3 months. You can choose the memory you want. You don't have to take whatever comes to you if you don't want a particular memory. This is not about taking the worst memory you can have. It's an exercise in developing detail in our memory, not a trauma healing exercise. You're then going to do the exact same process you did in exercise 1. Select a scene from an event in your life during this time period and write every detail you can remember about that one scene, not the story or series of scenes, just one picture. So take Handout 1, Memory Detail Exercise, Section 2. Write a detailed paragraph on a single picture from your life that you remember from 1 week to 3 months ago. Keep describing it for at least 3 minutes. More and more detail will come. Complete this and come back to the video. You can surprisingly discover that if you stay with the process, more and more detail will come forth, even in further away memories. In exercise 3, we're going back even further. Now this time, we're going all the way back to a very early memory in your life. This does not have to be the very first memory you've had, but it could be. The instruction is to remember a very early event, a very early memory. Take whatever comes. In the beginning, your memory may be somewhat sketchy. When I did this, for example, I remembered falling off a green tricycle when I must have been about 3 or 4 years old. I remember the green tricycle and a feeling of weightlessness that happened as I tipped over. Again, choose a scene that comes to you that's not overly emotionally charged, and describe everything in detail on Section 3 of Handout 1. Write a detailed paragraph on a single picture from your very early life that you remember. Keep describing it for at least 3 minutes. More and more detail will come to you if you put your consciousness on it, if you focus on it. Stay right there with it. Complete this and come back to the video. Were you able to, if you stuck with it, get more detail about events than you originally thought you had? This, like any skill, takes practice. So If not much came to you, put it away with the intention for your mind to be more okay the next time with recovering memories. Brain science has demonstrated that our memories are encoded in our brain. The process is in gaining access to them when you want to. If your mind refuses to, don't beat yourself up for this. I've learned to respect that there are reasons for such phenomenon, and not to try to force them until all systems are ready. Some emotionally charged memories may not be ready to emerge. Some people will tend to choose emotionally strong memories, and others will not. Again, see if you can note how you worked with curiosity rather than criticism. This will tend to produce more cooperation between your conscious and your unconscious. If you can really develop detail, you have the kind of talent that writers have. When they describe a scene, you feel like you were right there in the scene. When a person really is there and speaking from their experience, it draws you in. It's like you're right there with them. That's what great literature is about. If a person really describes the taste of that bagel or the shape of the bowl, it transports you. It takes you right there into that experience. Now, we're going to do another step in this training. We're going to go back and to use the exercise that we just did with a little different twist on the instructions, because what we're looking for now is not developing detail. We're going to adapt the original viewpoint in the memory you record. So, for example, I'm sitting at the breakfast table. I'm listening to my granddaughter talk about the Corallosaurus. I'm seeing the graininess of the coral and how it feels like an emery board, something I could file my fingernails down on. I'm seeing the glistening of the white on the bleached coral and enjoying hearing my granddaughter turn it upside down and play with it. So, I'm bringing it into the first person present tense. I'm hearing, I'm smelling, I'm tasting, I'm seeing. So you are describing and experiencing it in your writing just as though it's going on right now. So take handout 2, Memory Certitude Exercises, Section 1, A. Write a detailed paragraph on a different single picture from your life that you remember from this morning in the original viewpoint. Keep describing it for at least 3 minutes, bringing in it the first person and the present tense. I'm hearing, I'm smelling, I'm tasting, I'm seeing. If you run out of things to write, just stay with it. Keep writing that scene, keep breathing, and see what else comes up. Other layers will tend to come up for you. Complete this and come back to the video. Now, how do you know what you just wrote is true? Go back to handout 2, section 1B, and complete how I know what I wrote in this scene is true is. Then write whatever comes out. Keep it simple and release any mental criticism about your answer. So complete section B and come back to the video. The question may seem perplexing to you. That's good. It means you're contemplating about what gives you certitude concerning what you remember in your life. Just stay with the process now and be open to what happens to you and your mind as you do. In exercise 2, we're going to go back to remember something a little further back in your memory bank. You will select a less recent event, something that happened in the last 3 months, but at least over a week ago. You can choose the memory you want. You don't have to take whatever comes to you. If you don't want a particular memory, again, it's an exercise in developing certitude in your memory. You're going to do the same process you did in exercise 1. Select a scene from an event in your life in this time period and write every detail you can remember about that one scene. Not the story or a series of scenes, just one picture, describing it for at least 3 minutes in the first person, present tense. I'm hearing, I'm smelling, I'm tasting, I'm seeing. Take Handout 2, Memory Certitude Exercises, Section 2A. Write a detailed paragraph on a different single picture from your life that you remember from 1 week to 3 months ago, from the original viewpoint. Keep describing it for at least 3 minutes, and more detail will come. Complete this and come back to the video. How do you know what you wrote is true? Go back to Handout 2, Section 2B, and complete How I Know What I Wrote in the Scene is True is. Then write whatever comes out. Again, keep it simple and release any mental criticism about your answer. Complete Section 2B and come back to the video. You may or may not sense a bit more doubt on the veracity of your memory of an event in your life a bit further back. Nonetheless, this is your life and your memory. How can you support what is yours? In exercise 3, we're again going back even further. Now this time, we're going all the way back to a very early memory in your life. The instruction is to remember a very early event, a very early memory. Take whatever comes. It could be the same or a different scene from what you recounted in the first series of exercises, like my green tricycle incident. Again, it's best to choose a scene that's not overly emotionally charged. On Section 3A, write a detailed paragraph on a single picture from your very early life from the original viewpoint. Keep describing it for at least 3 minutes. More and more will come to you if you put your consciousness on it, if you focus on it. Stay right there with it. Complete this and come back to the video. How do you know what you wrote is true? Go back to Handout 2, Section 3B, and complete How I Know What I Wrote in this scene is true is. Then write whatever comes out. Again, keep it simple and release any mental criticism about your answer. Complete Section 3B and come back to the video. Generally, the more you are able to experience yourself fully in each scene, the more certitude you had that it was true for you. So certitude is not about some supposed external reality. It's about what's true for you. Further evidence or even self-reflection may alter your conclusions about your memories. For example, falling off my bicycle was not a punishment for being a bad boy. But nonetheless, I did feel like time stopped and I was suspended in midair for a moment before I hit the ground. I am certain of that because it is still real for me 70 years later. I was there, is my conclusion, and the conclusion that many people finally come up with when asked how they know their memory was true for them. I believe that if I don't create time for myself to do some form of stepping outside of time every day, if I don't create the space to just experience my being, then I may feel like I've done a lot, but I missed the boat. I can chalk up a lot of experience, but I don't have a lot of value. In my life now, if I don't give myself that time every day, I notice it very dramatically. If there's one thing I would hope that would come from all of our work together in this course, it's that you create those spaces for yourself every day. It could be meditation, reverie, journaling, contemplation, or walking in nature. This is a quality of depth rather than an amount of time I take. It does not have to take 3 hours. It may, in 15 minutes, be able to go to a depth that takes me through the rest of my morning or the rest of my afternoon in a whole different place of contact and experience. That's why This is absolutely training. Holding you in my heart as fellow travelers on the road home, I send and receive blessings for our circle and all sentient beings till next class. Blessings in light and love.